tomorrow, but we have those 3 problems. Remember, there were 3 problems you couldn't do, so you are getting new homework tonight, but I'm just going to stall on grading because of the 3 problems that you couldn't do. Okay? Today we're going to be doing exactly what we did yesterday, except yesterday they already had the polynomial factored for us. Hey, James. Yesterday they already had the polynomial factored for us, right? So today we're going to pull back in a skill that it's been a while. We're going to factor, and so then we can find zeros and multiplicity after factoring. So it's been a while since we factored. What is always step 1 when we factor? Greatest common factor. Good. Always take out a greatest common factor first. Does everyone agree this one has an x squared? Is there anything else that factors in this one? Very good. What are the zeros? -3, 3, and 0. What are their multiplicities? Any questions about how I know any of that? Let's see what time we get out of here. Yeah, when does x squared equal 0? When x is 0? It's kind of like x minus 0 parentheses squared. That makes sense? We get out at 9:30. Sorry, I was making sure. It is how many times the 0 appears. I got a lot more talking than should be happening. X factors out. Your table is scooted up farther than normal, isn't it?
I don't know. I just know it's guys.
Can't. Will you scoot your table back some, and then they can scoot theirs back some, and that'll put a better angle on your table. You don't have to move. You're fine. But I think that'll give you a little better angle. This is the only class that anyone sits at that table. But it's just so big that we have to. My smartboard is not very centrally located in the classroom. Yes? Any questions about that? What are the zeros? Good. 0, 1, and 3. Again, I'm going to ask where the 0 come from? The x in front. They all have multiplicities of 1. Do we agree? If y'all are okay with it, I'm only going to do one more from this slide. Is that okay? I think number 6 maybe, because it has that -2 in front. But what can I do with the -2?
Factor it out.
Factor it out. This has 3 terms, so I'm going to see if it will unfoil. Now, if this is an x to the 4th, what has to go here and here? X squared and x squared. What are the factors of 2 that subtract to give me 1? What are the only factors of 2? Good. 2 and 1, and I do want the 1 to be negative, which actually means this factors one more step. Why does it factor one more step? What is x squared minus 1 called? A difference of perfect squares. Good, and it's x minus 1 and x plus 1. What are the zeros?
Well, you're not negative
1 and -1, agreed?
Yeah.
Then this thing is a little strange, isn't it? Because it didn't factor down all the way to a linear term. So good. To do this, I'm going to have to set it equal to 0, do a side note. So x would be plus or minus the square root of -2. I'm going to go back up and read the question. It says identify the zeros. Zeros can be imaginary, so I'll go ahead and include those. What if this had said x-intercepts? Can x-intercepts be imaginary? So I would have left it off if it had said x-intercepts. All of these have a multiplicity of 1. Do we agree? So that's a little factoring review. We are going to go back and do this problem from yesterday. This one is probably the most important part of the notes today. Yes.
Oh, it's this one.
Calculator, yeah. It's something you've done before. In fact, at some point in the year, besides multiplicity, we've probably done everything I'm teaching today at some point. But it's been a while since we did factoring, so. Okay, if you will, get your calculators out. This asks me to find a cubic equation that models this data. A cubic equation that models this data. Remember in the fall when we did linear equations that modeled data? What button did we push to get to modeling data? Step. By the way, have I asked this class about a calculator? Someone turned a calculator into me a while ago. Did anyone say
Gray.
it's not?
What about black? Black.
It is black.
I'm kidding. It might be mine.
Does it have any markings on it or anything?
I don't know.
Okay, talk to me after class. If it's yours, we'll get it back to you. I don't need it.
It's like really black. I haven't seen it in a while. I don't know where it went. Yeah.
It's pretty black.
Yeah, we'll open it. Yeah, that looks like my calculator, but I never like wrote my name on it or anything.
You should do that if it's yours.
Definitely.
Okay, it's not mine.
There it is. Gotcha.
Have you been looking for it for
No, like
months ago?
No.
Okay. I've had it for about a week. Someone gave it to me about a week ago.
And you had it for a week?
Yeah, I've been asking my classes. I just keep forgetting to ask this one.
Were they one grade together?
Nope, they were two separates. But 415 was completion. Okay, if you will, get your calculators out and go to the stat button. Stat edit. Do you remember doing that in the fall?
Yeah.
In L1, I want to type the years. Okay. Now, read the question. You remember having to do this in when we did this with linear stuff as well. What does it say that X represents? Good. So what would 1950 be? 0. Everyone agree with that? So we're going to type this data in our calculator. In L1, I'm going to type 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, was it 70 is where it stops? Because 2020 is 70 years after 1950. In L2, I'm going to type the bottom row of data. The beneficiaries in millions. Make it a little bigger. It is 2.9. That help any? They are, and it says up in the the top it says that part of the data is projected data, which, as you can imagine, 2020 hasn't actually happened yet. And I guess when this problem was written, 2010 had probably not happened yet either. It's probably that old. Under what? 2020 is 68.8. Okay, so I want to find the equation. Does anyone remember how to find equations with data?
Don't you just plot the different equations and see if it comes out to be like
Okay, good. You could just try the different types of equations. What button am I going to push? Good. Stat and then calc. Now, I don't have to, Lily said you just try the different types and see which one comes out best. This one I get to cheat because it says find the cubic equation. So instead of doing ln-reg, which is what I did in the fall, I'm going to go down to cubic reg. Stat, and then arrow to the right over to calculate, and then go down to cubic reg. If it asks for a quadratic, could you imagine what you would do?
Well, I would go back and
Quad reg. The next one, quart reg, would you agree that would be a quartic equation? So you could do a lot of different equations, whatever it told you to do. This now opens up pretty much we could do a regression equation for any type of equation. So I'm going to go down to cubic regression and push enter. This menu comes up. L1 and L2 should be the first two things. And then I am going to go ahead and store this equation. This is an optional step for part A, but part B asks me to graph the data and the line. So storing this equation in Y1 will make it where I don't have to go type it in Y1. Would it be okay if you did have to go type it in Y1?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the end of the world. It'd just take you a while. So I'm going to go to alpha trace, and a little menu comes up and you see the Y1 there. I'm going to click that Y1, storing the regression in Y1. And then I'm going to go down to calculate and push enter. What do you mean? Let me see. Go back to your stat edit. One of your lists is longer than the other one. If you ever get error invalid DIM, what that means is you accidentally made your L1 and L2 different links. Like maybe you missed a number or you typed an extra number on one of the lists. You're using L3, L4 there?
Oh.
And so
I don't have it.
when that menu came up, the store reg equation, you see that place? Come here. Let me see your calculator. So I'm going to write this equation on part A. I'm going to write y equals 2.927 x cubed. Does everyone see how I get that? So you have to go to stat, over to calculate, cubic regression, and then you put the y1 here. Alpha trace. You're welcome. Every time we have a test over this, someone will put ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d plus e or whatever, and they'll just write that down. Does that tell me the equation? No, you actually have to put the numbers in. Everyone know what I mean by that? X 1.872. Does everyone see from their calculator how I'm getting those numbers?
Yes. And then
It is. And the R squared is a 99% look, so I would say. Which actually on this particular one you don't have to, because we're going to do it by looking at the graph. But to do that you go to mode and turn the diagnostic on if you want the R. Okay, now we're going to graph the data in the model. If you stored it in Y1, the model's already in. If you didn't store in Y1, then that answer I wrote down on part A, you'd have to go type in Y1, which wouldn't be the end of the world. You could do that. Then I need you to go to second Y equals, which brings up your stat plot menu. We're going to turn our stat plot on. Everyone listen to this. When you are done working these problems, go back and turn it off. If you don't, tomorrow you will say, Miss King, my calculator's messed up. It has dots on the graphing screen. Why does it have dots? Because you put them there.
Can you click plot 1?
Yes, plot 1 and turn it on. It should be L1, L2 if you use L1, L2. Now, if for some reason you used L3, L4, Chris, then you would need to put L3, L4 there instead.
You turn it on?
Yes.
oh.
Just, it actually, the first one is the one I'm going to use, the scatter plot. You could use others. We wouldn't want to use a bar graph or a histogram, but
There's no
if you go to Stat Clear Editor or Setup Editor, it'll fix it and put it back. Someone deleted them. Okay, and then I'm going to go to Zoom and down to Stat. That will fit a perfect window to the data. Any questions about that?
You go to Zoom.
Zoom Stat. What number is Zoom Stat? 9. So Zoom 9.
What is that stat?
It puts it to where your window perfectly fits the data you typed in.
Couldn't that not do that like when we do the Windows?
Because in it, like say a function goes on forever. Which piece do you want to see? That this fits to the data you typed in, and there's only 10 data points, so it can definitely fit a window to that. I cheated on my graph. Got technological. If it does say graph, do I need to see a picture on your homework? Yes, if you can, hey, if you can do this and put it there, that's fine, but somehow I need to see a picture. Is the model a good fit? Does this appear to fit pretty well? Yes. Yeah. According to the model, how many million people were receiving Social Security in 2005? How am I going to do that? I'm going to put 2005 in my function. Do I type 2005? What do I type? 55. Why 55? Good. 2005 is 55 years after 1950. And that I can plug in using my calculator. Since it's already in Y equals, what can I use to plug that in very, very quickly? The table. Second table, type 55, push enter. Oh, mine's set where I can't type. I'm going to fix that. Table set. Second window, and put your independent variable on ask. Only the independent variable. And I get 49.646. Independent.
What number did you put in?
55. And if you wanted to do that, by the way, if your table's not set up like this, another way you can type that is you can go to alpha trace Y1 of 55 on your home screen. Did everyone say hi to that? So y1 of 55 on your home screen. We'll do the same thing. You'll have to show me your calculator. And then what will I do for 2030? Oh. Ooh. I would guess, because it's so close, either one of your decimal points off or one of my decimal points are off. Did anyone else, did everyone get my answer?
Yeah.
So I bet you have a 1 decimal off on your data, and then that's making your...
That's why you always use correct.
But it's so close, it's got to be something tiny.
Yeah.
And what do I do to find 2030? $80? Why 80? Good. 80 years from 1950. 87.314. And remember, that is in millions. Yes. I plugged in 80 into the model that is already in my Y1. Do you know how to do that? It's using your table or your home screen. It's 2 ways. Is your table set up where you can type in it? Okay. Okay, go to second window, and on your table setup, put your independent variable on ask. And then go to second graph, which is your table, and type in 55. Okay, any questions about that? And then on the bottom one, we just type in 80 instead of 55. Yep. Yes. Everything. Okay, go to your y equals. You didn't put the equation in y1. You can either type it, or you can go back and run the stat edit again and store it in y1. You probably did, and then you probably went back and did it. But you can just do it again. Or, like, just go back and run it again. Probably. Right. If you forget any of these steps, that is what videos are amazing for, correct?
Correct.
You can go back and watch this video as slow as you need to. Those are more factoring. Okay, so your homework tonight. Everyone quiet and listen. Those 3 problems. And then your homework is going to look a lot like it looked last night. Except, what's the only difference? It's not in... It is in standard form. It's not in factored form. So what am I going to do?
Factor it.
Factor it. Try this. Try this one. Not yet. We'll do it tomorrow. Remember the 3 book problems we can play. factoring. If you get stuck on a factoring problem, what else do you have at your disposal? Calculator, right? X plus 2 and minus 2.
Oh.
Okay, let's look at this problem. Your homework tonight is to finish last night's homework and then that 6.3b worksheet. Okay, factored form. What do I do first? Always. Take out any greatest common factors, and then is there anything left I can factor? Very good. What are the zeros? 0, -2, and 2. I have too much talking happening. 0, -2, and 2. It didn't ask, but if it does, hey. It didn't ask, but if it does, multiplicity on all three of, or on the 2's would be 1, and on the 0 would be 2. We could still answer that question. It turns out these two questions are easier than last night. Do we agree? Because it's already in standard form. So what is the degree? And what is the leading coefficient? 1. As x approaches infinity, first of all, let's look at what the end behavior looks like. It's a 4th power, so what do you know about both ends? They're both going to go up. So as x goes to infinity, the graph rises, and as y goes, or as x goes to negative infinity, the graph rises, or y goes to infinity, goes up. A lot of different ways we could say that. What is the maximum number of turning points? And then how will you find the relative maximum and relative minimum? Second trace, and you'll go, so do you see how this is very similar to last night's homework? Just one additional piece. Okay, one other thing, and we will be done. Find the polynomial with these zeros. This is a backwards question. How am I going to do that? Okay, Chris said x minus 1, and x plus 4. Why would those be the factors if this is the zeros? What did he do? X minus each one of these, right? Now, it said to answer in what? Standard form. So I need to FOIL. I'm going to FOIL the two bigger ones first. So I'm just doing one of those other problems completely backwards. X squared plus 4x minus x minus 4. And then what? Multiply the x in. X cubed plus 4x squared minus x squared minus 4x. And I can combine terms to get x cubed. Y'all need to quit talking. You really do. I don't know why you have everything packed up, and I don't know why you're talking. You acted like class ended 10 minutes ago. I have a short class already. I don't need you to end it early. And I do need you to wake up. You don't get to decide when class ends. Next time this happens, I will hold you past the bell. Okay? Don't pack up early. Don't start talking when I'm still talking. Understand? You missed getting to see an extra example because of that.